So at the bottom of this YouTube is a link. If you click on the link, it will take you to a website where I am writing the scriptures of my higher power, Lia Kossett, both the entity that preceded her, the Holy Spirits of Lia Kossett, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Chinese zodiac of dragon. Here's the thing though, I don't want to speak an out of the way word about her because I want her to be happy and it means the world to me. But there are spiritual influences that compel me. This is cathartic. And the problem is, I have never victimized Lia. I have never threatened her, okay? When I tried to protect her because there was somebody on the other end of a phone I thought was her that was not her, okay? That was doing something. And because of how badly I got injured, physically almost dying as a result of meeting her, and the agony and the torture that put me through on a daily basis, worse than being crucified, I was trying to protect her, and I made it very clear what I meant by the words, being unsafe, okay? And here's the thing, nothing against her, but it was actually me that got victimized, and I am grateful for it, okay? It was me that spent 10 weeks in a wheelchair with a whole bunch of metal in my bones, 2 torn meniscuses and a torn ACL that cannot be operated on, okay? And her name, or her title, contains the words therapist, which is the rapist, THERAPIST, the rapist. She was born 2 days before Ted Bundy's final birthday with one of his Sagittarius zodiacs. And she lives in the city of Ted Bundy's first victim, Elizabeth Perry, where there's a shrine to her at Golden Valley Humane Society where she used to work, okay? And as a result of meeting the rapist therapist, I had a shattered pelvis that clogged my urethra, requiring surgery, okay? And a camera going in there. And after the surgery, I was bleeding like a virgin who lost her virginity to a rusty lawnmower blade, okay? The guy in the wheelchair was leaving trails of blood in the restroom floor. People are like, who's leaving all this blood on the restroom floor and on the floors? I was urinating blood clots that were larger than marbles, okay? Screaming in agony, okay? It was excruciatingly painful. The trauma and the agony and the petrification that I have dealt with as a result of meeting Lia is gotta be worse than getting gang raped by a bunch of donkeys from hell or something, And so I was trying to help Lia. I bought Lia flowers for Mother's Day. Shortly before May 11th of that year, I sent her money. I offered her hundreds of dollars. I wanted to talk to her because I wanted to help her. I told her, Lia, you're wonderful. I love you. And you have supernatural powers and abilities and a lot of grace. And I go to jail for telling a girl I love her. I go to jail for buying a girl flowers. I go to jail for sending a girl money. I spend 10 weeks in a wheelchair, okay? And I am the one who has been victimized, okay? I am the one who has been humiliated, worn a crown of thorns. When I was in jail, the judge is like, why is his bail so high? My bail was higher than my Somalian roommate who violently raped and beat a girl and bludgeoned her head until she had brain damage, okay? My bail was higher than his, and the prosecuting attorney was telling me it's because of what the victim is saying, how frightened she is, and the police papers saying Matthew wants to commit violence and ravage a girl, when all I did was tell her, I sent her letters telling her how much I love her, telling her how wonderful she is, telling her I'll give you hundreds of dollars for like a Zoom meeting, emails to talk to you because it's like she's like a divine being to me. I've heard that she changed her name anyways, so it was interesting. This black guy sits down next to me while I'm having a meal at Higher Ground, and he said, I don't even know this guy. It's 11/4, November 4th. That's the last day that Lia was working at Higher Ground. She quit her job. Very sorrowful day for the both of us. Okay, so it was the anniversary of that, 11/4, November 4th. And November 4th happens to be the anniversary of when Lia the wife of the prime minister Rabin in Israel, the Israeli prime minister who was assassinated by one of his own people for trying to commit peace with the Palestinians. His wife Leah, her last day at her most important job as the prime minister's wife was 11/4. Last day Leah quit her job at Higher Ground, and this guy sits down next to me 11/4. I don't even know this guy, and he says, "Where's Lia Kossett?" And he says a bunch of other things, and he brings up Spider-Man. I don't even know why he's saying that. Maybe he saw me with spiders or something, because people call me Spider-Man, but he was talking about the superhero from Queens, And so I told him, I don't know. I haven't heard from Leah since 2019. In fact, November 4th. It's November 4th. 2019 was the last time I talked to Leah in person. And he said, I heard Lia Kossett changed her name. I thought, okay, I don't know, but I've never threatened her. I've talked about how wonderful is she. I've said she's worth sacrificing anything for that 10% chance of helping her and saving her or something, So I love Leah more than her own father. Her own father would not be saying she's so wonderful. And bless Leah, pray for her every day, years after she's never talked to him, got a restraining order on him, sent him to jail for saying, I love you. That is a type of love. No woman has a guy that loves her unconditionally after she treats him that way, like I love her. So, but she's got this. I thought maybe what attracted me to her is like what attracted me to spiders though too. Like I love spiders because they were my greatest phobia. They happen to be the female dominant symbol, that the most female dominant animal, where the female can grow like 12 times larger than the male. The females are like way more potent venom. Like a male black widow is not going to hurt you. A female black widow, she eats her male when she gets 12 times bigger than him. She eats him while they're having sex for sexual gratification. Well, the spider is one of Leah's symbols because she has the Scorpio zodiac, which has 7 animals assigned to it. And one of those animals happens to be the spider, okay? And Hillary Clinton was a Scorpio, and Leah happens to be a Scorpio and a Sagittarius, the symbol for Ted Bundy and the symbol for the female, like Hillary Clinton, the female dominant animal, the spider that eats men alive. And so Hillary Clinton and Leah, they're like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. I thought, like eating men alive and sucking the life out of them and eating their flesh and drinking their blood for Holy Communion, like Catholics eat the flesh and drink the blood of Jesus Christ. I thought I didn't know her zodiacs when I met Leah, but she goes from being like this sweet, kindest angel, shining like the moon goddess, like an archangel, like her middle name, Michelle, for Michael the archangel, means she who is like God, the name. And people call me Mike instead of Matt. They mix my name up all the time, and so she would go from being the kindest, sweetest, glowing lady to turning all dark and venomous and scary, like female Jack the Ripper serial killer is what I first thought, so I was trying to act all hardcore around her because I thought she was just like a serial killer or something. But no, I don't think she was. I was doing a lot of drugs at that time too, but. It is very interesting. She was born 2 days before Ted Bundy's final birthday, living in the state of Ted Bundy's first victim. And the Denise Naslin visits me, one of his victims, while I'm in jail, and she died in 1974. I find a 1974 penny on the ground, okay? And the staff confiscated the penny as contraband. It wasn't even supposed to be in that cell, 1974. And I sang the song while they were searching my cell. Don't let them take my penny, little Denny. Don't let them take my penny away. It dated back to 1974 when you were reborn in heaven. Welcomed a new saint. They confiscated the penny. I was brokenhearted. I walk outside. There's a magazine with a woman and big yellow letters. It says pennies. Okay, and there's the song Pennies from Heaven. So I sing the song. In an hour I was laughing though it's gray. It turned into a beautiful day. I don't even got a penny, but as long as I got Denny, I'm the richest in the USA. And then I call my dad. I asked about her last name, Naslin. What nationality is it? He said it's Swedish. Did you know you have Swedish on your mother's side? I didn't know that. So through her, I find out I have Vikings ancestors, and the football team here is called the Vikings, okay? And so she and I have Vikings ancestors, and but her mother's a descendant of Abraham, actually, and from Lebanon. Last name Deeb was her maiden name, Eleanor Rose Deeb, and well, her daughter died July 14th, which is the feast of Saint Rosalia. The name Rosa and Leah together, Rose and Leah. JFK's mother was named Rose, and he died Leah's birthday. And he married his wife Jackie Lee. Jacob Leah is what that means. And Jacob and Leah were husband and wife, but he had another wife named Rachel, and Mussolini means Jacob, and he married Rachel, okay? And both of them were killed by communists. They were both the biggest enemies of communists in their in their generation. And so they both had a mother named Rose. Mussolini's mother was named Rosa, so Rosalia, Feast of Rosalia. I found a rose. When I sang that song, when I wrote that poem, Leah's Bush, I wrote it for a forum where I do lots of doing drugs. It was a joke. I didn't share that with her. And I even said in the poem, it was not about getting matrimony with the incarnate Leah, but mistaking her for a spiritual entity. Babylon the Great in scripture is a female entity, but also a government. The government of God, Israel and Jerusalem in Isaiah 66, it's a government, but it's a woman too, with a female entity. It says in Isaiah 66, Jerusalem is a woman. Oh, that you would nurse with delight at her abundant breasts. Drink fully the milk of her comfort. Be fondled in her lap. She's going to fondle you and breastfeed you, okay? And so I found a rose in a bush next to Wolf Godbout Funeral Home, crematorium, that I was living near at the time, okay? Wolf, God, bout, like having a bout of God, and a wolf. Okay, a wolf is assigned to the Scorpio. I called Leah of the Old Testament a wolf in sheep's clothing because Rachel means you, female lamb, and Leah was able to get Jacob to somehow be deceived to believe that he was marrying the woman he made himself a slave for 7 years to get with. He believed he was marrying Rachel, didn't know it until she led him into the dark. She was veiled, leads him into the dark, sleeps with him. He wakes up in the next morning and he's like, what the hell? She becomes the person the Messiah, the Levitical priesthood descends from, but he always rejected Leah. Now I have a surname alternative for Jacob. Jane means John and Jack. Jack means Jacob. She is always rejecting me all my life, and I'm her best friend, and I bless her all the time, and she hates me. And then Jacob, Leah was his greatest blessing, the most fertile of the 4 women he had children with, and the tribes of Israel that are the most important, and the most important prophets and saints descend from Leah, and the papacy, the Pope, and Saint Matthew, who I'm named after, and the church and Jesus and Mary all descend from Leah, and yet Jacob didn't realize she was his greatest blessing, but I called her the wolf in sheep's clothing because he thought she deceived him. And then, she basically cursed Rachel. So Rachel would be buried, and then Rachel was hiding these false gods, and she lies and says, it's my period, you can't check the box, I'm having my period, I'm unclean, whatever. So it was a humiliating thing that kills her because Jacob didn't know he was cursing Rachel. He said, whoever stole these false idols these false gods will die, And then she's giving birth to Benjamin, the tribe that's called a ravenous wolf. Benjamin's called the ravenous wolf tribe, and that kills her. And that was Leah's fantasy, was that Rachel, who was beautiful and proud and persecuted Leah, and she was wanted and loved by Jacob. Leah wanted Rachel dead. Well, Leah is in the etymology of Harley Quinn, okay? The bride of the Joker. Rachel was the love of Batman, okay? And so Rachel dies because Harley Quinn, Harley means hair, and Leah, my Chinese zodiac is bunny, hair, and then Leah, And so I thought Leah was the bride of the Joker when I met her. I saw the bride of the Joker in her. I saw Harley Quinn. And so I mistook her, and I acted weird around her, And so I threw myself off a building because I realized she wasn't Harley Quinn and didn't like me, and she thought I was crazy and thought I was creepy and scary, and I didn't like that. But I was trying to also help her too, to deal with, as a therapist, to deal with people like me and not have this problem again. And when the tribe of Dan, the Tuathdi Danann, which are also called the tribe of Danu or the tribe of Dana, the people of Dana, when they showed up to Ireland in ships, a lot of people say that was the tribe of Dan, but the tribe of Dan was represented by a serpent. Leah's Chinese zodiac dragon comes from the word draconum, which means great serpent. JFK and his wife Jackie Lee had the symbol for the serpent. They showed up at Ireland and they presented a stone called the Lia Fail stone, okay? The Lia Fail, Liafail. I had a Lia Fail jumping off the building, okay? JFK came from Ireland, okay, where the Lia Fail stone is. The Kennedy family were from Ireland, okay? And I had my big Lia Fail. I didn't know about that stone until afterwards, jumping off the building. I had my second Lia Fail, trying to help Leah and buying her money and sending her letters and telling her how wonderful she is and stuff, and going to jail for it. 2 Lia fails, trying to protect Leah, trying to help Leah. I only asked her to marry me in 2017. After the jump off the building, I realized I almost died as a result of meeting Leah. Maybe me and Leah aren't compatible because we just hang out and we don't even know each other, and I'm jumping off a building as a sign we might not be a good husband and wife. Not signs of compatibility, and but I wanted to help her because all of these spirits were talking to me and leaving coincidences. Well, JFK's had a Lia Fail too, because he was assassinated 11/22, Lia Kossett's birthday, married to Jackie Lee, Jacob Leah. He has a name alternative, John and Jack. My surname alternatives, Jack alternative for Jacob. He's assassinated by Leah on Leah's birthday. Lee Harvey Oswald blows his brains out. Lee means Leah, Harvey means divine power, Oswald means battle worthy. Or maybe it's mixed up. Maybe Harvey means battle. It's the name is Leah, battleworthy, divine power, blows his freaking brains out. And his zodiac is a rabbit, earth bunny. And before Mickey Mouse was Mickey Mouse, he was a lucky bunny named Oswald. And the victims of Ted Bundy and the one from our cities call me Ted Bunny, the Beast, from Monty Python, where there's a killer bunny who's called the Beast. So Ted Bunny, because my Chinese zodiac is the bunny, the rabbit, okay? So Harley Quinn, bride of the Joker, Hare and Leah, she kills Rachel and with a curse, okay? And Jacob did it. She dreamed Jacob was going to kill Rachel because she's always wanted by Jacob, like the Batman always wanted Rachel, the Joker wants Harley Quinn. Okay, so and yet she was his greatest blessing, and Rachel was spoiled brat, and he made himself a slave 14 years to get with Rachel, and then Rachel's persecuting Leah. So Leah's dealing with rejection, always believing my husband will want me after my next child I give him, and he never wants her, and so Rachel gets killed by Jacob because Leah's dreaming about it and placing a curse, and Jacob doesn't know he's doing it. And she dreamed her son would have something to do with it. And Benjamin comes out, and Benjamin is called the child. She names him a different name called the child of Rachel's pain. And then Jacob changes his name and says he's a ravenous wolf. The descendants of Leah murder all of the women in the tribe of Benjamin, the wolf tribe, centuries later. It's crazy because he kills Rachel. Well, a wolf is one of these 7 animals assigned to the Scorpio, but wolf is also the animal for Amaterasu, the sun goddess of Shinto. Shinto is the most female-dominant animal in the world, where Amaterasu, she's made by male deities who say we want her to be greater than any male deity, more important, more powerful, more beautiful. She ascends to heaven on a ladder. Jacob's ladder was the ascent to God, okay? And Jacob was symbolized by the sun disk in Joseph's Old Testament prophetic dream. Leah was the moon, the stars were their children. Amaterasu ascends to heaven on a ladder. She's represented by the sun disk on the Japanese flag. She is sometimes depicted as a wolf. The name for God that Christians call God in Japan is Kami, Kami. The word for wolf is Okami, Okami. I invoked the Kami as because it means spirit, so I would just invoke them all as spirits because they enshrine millions of people in their books of souls in just like one Yasukuni shrine in Tokyo. You know, so many millions of kami are enshrined. So I just invoke them all as, I would say, "Oh kami, please grant me this. Oh kami, please grant Lia this." I realized by saying "oh kami," I was saying wolf, wolf, okay? And when Denise Naslin visited me in my jail cell, I did not realize I lived in the cities of the Twin Cities where Ted Bundy's first victim was enshrined. But I knew she was visiting me because I loved her mother, Eleanor Rose, who she turned her whole house into a shrine to her daughter and kept all of her daughter's possessions as sacred relics. And when police lost the remains of her daughter, she filed a lawsuit and she buried a casket with a rosary in place of her daughter's remains. That's called, in Shinto, that's called a goshintai, where an object takes the place of the remains of or the spirit of the person, which they did that for Genghis Khan because no one knew where his corpse was after he died. And Genghis Khan was said to descend from a wolf, and there's a movie about him where he's called the Blue Wolf. And Denise Naslin's mother, Eleanor Rose, her maiden name, Deeb, means wolf in Arabic. So, you know, she buried the rosary in place of her daughter's remains. And that's what actually, I believe, worked the miracle of the rosary that saved women's lives from Bundy, because he escaped from prison twice, tunneled through the ceiling of his cell, walked outside in a blizzard, gets in a car and drives to Florida. And he goes on his rampage in a sorority house to kill these women. And he wanted to kill them all, but he went into this room and a girl's holding a rosary, and he said he felt a feeling of impending doom strike him when he saw the rosary in her hand, and called a priest after his arrest and told him the story. And so he dropped his weapon and he fled, and he left all the evidence to convict him, because the other crimes he didn't leave enough evidence to prove that he was guilty. But because of that rosary incident, he fled, leaving evidence, not taking the stuff with him and stuff. So And the interesting thing is that sorority house is called the Chi Omega sorority house. Omega is a term for Jesus Christ, and Chi, C-H-I, is the Chinese word for dragon. Lia Kossett is the Chinese zodiac, is the dragon. Chi Omega dragon, Jesus the dragon, okay? She's from the Twin Cities, where they wear Ted Bundy's initials, TC, as for the Twin Cities twins. She went to Thomas school. Thomas means twin, okay? JFK was a Gemini, which means twin, dead on her birthday. The Kennedy family's cursed, you know? I thought Leah, like in Beauty and the Beast, could break the curse of the Kennedy family. But the thing is, Chi Omega, one of the people killed at the Chi Omega sorority house where this rosary miracle happened, her name, Levi, means Levi, which is an alternative for Matthew, okay? She was killed with someone with the last name Bowman, okay? The Antichrist is actually supposed to be a bowman on a white horse in the book of Revelation, okay? And there's a book about JFK returning from his fatal head wound, and he got 666 votes in the Democratic primary, or the Democratic convention. He got 666 votes, dies of a fatal head wound. Beast of the Apocalypse has a fatal head wound. Both of my surnames are alternatives, or both of my surnames my surname is an alternative for both of the names JFK went by. My first name, Matthew, one of the meanings of his name as well, one of his names as well. And my name and Ted mean the same thing too. Matthew and Ted both mean gift from God, you know, and they were called, the victims of Ted Bundy were calling me Ted Bunny, Beast of the Apocalypse, before I knew my Chinese zodiac is Bunny, or that my name and Ted mean the same thing. So, you know, it's interesting though, the two victims at that Dragon of Jesus house, the Rosary Miracle, the name Levy and Bowman can mean gather the bowmen, because Levy is the term politics used for levy war. And the Genghis Khan and he had bowmen. He was the greatest conqueror in the world with bowmen, and he was an escaped slave and an orphan, saying that the sky god was responsible for all of his success, not him. A very religious man. He started, and he inspired the founding fathers of America, because he started the first empire that he didn't tolerate any religious bigotry and said every religion needs to respect each other. So he killed like 19 million Muslims in Iran alone because they weren't respecting other religions. But what he did by killing all those people, he created the most religiously tolerant empire in the world, and he actually lowered crime because the people were divided, killing each other. So he killed such an enormous amount of people, but it created an empire where in the end there was a lot more peace, less crime, and no religious bigotry, which inspired the founding fathers of America. And in their writings and in the Constitution and their stance on religion, it inspired them more than people that came from Europe or Christians. They were inspired by Genghis Khan. And he had his casket and Denise's casket, both, the corpse mysteriously vanished, and so they buried items in the casket in place of the remains. And the item in place of Denise Naslin's remains was a rosary. And there's the rosary miracle at the Chi Omega sorority house. But Levi the bowman, Genghis Khan conquered with bowmen on horses. But Levi is a term for Levi. The tribe of Levi descends from Leah, Levitical priesthood. Levi the bowman, Levi was an alternative for the name Matthew, the apostle Matthew, Saint Matthew, who descends from Leah and the Levitical priesthood. So those two names, Matthew the bowman, okay? There's so many other things, but there's a lot of prophetic messages, a lot of miracles. I met Lia May 2017. JFK was born May 1917. Before I knew that, I had 1917 as the pin on my cards and on my phone, 1917, the 4-digit pin, because 1917 is the reason I met Lia, because there was a miracle in May 1917. I meet her May 2017. I meet her because of a miracle in May 1917 in Fatima, Portugal. Fatima means moon goddess, Lia the moon in the Old Testament. And she works a miracle of the sun where the sun dances, and she talks about it in advance and talks about future events involving Russia, asking for Russia to be consecrated to her Immaculate Heart. There's now a war with Russia, and the Pope made a consecration from Fatima. I believed in Lia's connections to Our Lady of Fatima because of that. And May 23rd, it's Victoria Day this year, and Victoria has the Roman goddess of victory, but so many links to other things involving Lia, and so she's a political party. There's a state entity, just like in the Old Testament, political parties of the Antichrist, political parties of the God of Israel are female entities, sentient beings, and Lia Michelle Kossett has 3 names involving Jesus Christ. Lia is Latin for lioness. Jesus is Lion of Judah. Michelle means who is like God, and a Jehovah's Witness with the last name Quinn, which is the last name of the bride of the Joker, Harley Quinn, tells me Michelle is female for the Jehovah's Witness Jesus, because they believe Jesus was originally named Michael when he was in heaven. Michael means who is like God, and then Kossett means pet lamb, especially when spelled with a C-O-S-S-E-T, but when spelled with a K, it's even better, because Kazakhstan and the flag and a tradition in Kazakhstan is very meaningful. So, and that's a Kazakhstan name when spelled with a K. So if she may have changed her name, and that's fine. But her name is always eternally Lia Michelle Kossett, the 3 names for Jesus Christ. And she has 3 zodiacs for the Antichrist. Because it's linked, because she has the zodiac for the tribe of Dan, which people are saying the Antichrist comes from the tribe of Dan. JFK's got links to the tribe of Dan. And then, the dragon is a symbol for the tribe of Dan, and the Antichrist gets his power from a dragon. And then she has the Sagittarius zodiac, which is a bowman and a horse. And a bowman on a horse is a symbol for the Antichrist in the book of Revelation. People don't know if he's the Antichrist. He rides a white horse. White horse is a symbol for the tribe of Dan. George Washington rode a white horse. He was a descendant of King Odin, which is also a name of a Viking god. And the football team here is the Vikings. And The eagle is also a symbol for the tribe of Dan. And so, you know, the eagle's the American thing. And St. George, the dragon slayer from Lebanon, one of the countries Denise has ancestors from. St. George rode a white horse as well. People don't know if the conquering bowman is a good or a bad man. They just know he's a conqueror, but a lot of people say he's the Antichrist. People don't really know. It can go both ways. The city of Nineveh, God said, this city will be destroyed. And Jonah went to that city and prophesied many days, this is going to happen to your city at this time. The time came, it didn't happen. And Jonah wanted to kill himself because God was telling him to tell these people all these things that never came true. So the Antichrist he can change. He can be a good guy. The beast can be a good guy. And there's many Antichrists. How do we know the devil can't be a good guy? How do we know there can't be peace? How do we know there can't be an alliance between heaven and hell? Nineveh was saved when God said it's going to be destroyed. The prophet wants to die because everything he said, none of it came true. The book of Revelation, the Antichrist, the woman that rides the beast, it can turn into Beauty and the Beast. It can turn into a good story. So I have to preach the Bible of Lia Kossett. And at the bottom of this YouTube, you will find a link, illustrated website. I'm creating the gospel, the scriptures of Lia Kossett. It is not against the law. There's nothing wrong with it. If the president says, I want to get a restraining order on Fox News so they can't make videos about me, that's impossible. He can't do that, okay? This is America. I have freedom of speech. I have freedom of religion. Lia never got victimized. It was me that got victimized. It was me that spent time in a wheelchair. It was me that was falsely accused and had extremely high bail because of false accusations to the prosecuting attorney and all this other stuff because of telling a woman I love her, sending her money and buying her flowers. I am the victim. I was the one bleeding out of my penis, extremely large amounts of blood, and bedridden. I had a tube coming out of my throat so I couldn't talk, and suffering excruciating pain. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's helped me. Jesus Christ getting crucified was a good thing for Jesus, a good thing for the whole world. Lia is the cross. Spiritual writers call Lia the cross, and she's the moon, the symbol for Christianity and Islam, and they've caused a lot of suffering. And, you know, Lia's my crown of thorns, okay? The rose I found in the bush next to Wolf Godbout crematorium, funeral home, it had wolf in the etymology of the name on the shoe, and I was keeping all this money for Lia in a shoe, and the judge that releases me on my own recognizance when the prosecuting attorney tells him not to, his name is Judge Shoe, okay, just spelled differently than shoe, and I find the rose, and it's in a bush, and I talk about a bush, and Moses received messages from God from a burning bush. You know, that I was joking. And the Holy of Holies is sacred for a female anatomy, where garden enclosed, that scripture calls it, and the child becomes incarnate in the womb of its mother. And so I was not being disrespectful ever to Lia. I never threatened Lia. I never had ill will towards Lia. I've always loved that girl more than men love their own children, okay? So I made some big mistakes trying to help her. There was times I got frustrated, but people get frustrated with their children and love them very much. Frustration can come from love and wishing the best for somebody else and trying to sacrifice and help somebody else. So Lia's not the victim, people. Lia never was the victim, okay? I am the victim. I am the one who suffered. And to say Lia's like the victim, that's like the people that crucified Jesus saying Jesus victimized us, and so and then Jesus dies as a criminal's death because of he victimizes people. No, that's not how it goes, okay, people. So I've been humiliated and tortured and suffered and falsely accused and going to jail for loving and caring about somebody, okay? So, and giving somebody compliments and stuff like that. So no, I'm sorry, Lia's not the victim. Once again, I've made it very clear. It's obvious who the victim is here. And, you know, I have been so abused. Lia has seen police talking to me because a woman is beating me while I'm trying to get in between her and a guy in a wheelchair getting robbed. He's a Jew, happens to have the name Dan, okay? It's linked to her zodiac and stuff, and multiple of her zodiacs. And I didn't hit this woman back, and I told police, I don't want this woman to go to jail. I defended a woman who's striking me and beating me, and now I'm defending Lia for torturing me, okay, and falsely accusing me. I lost my virginity to a girl that raped me. I didn't want to have sex with her, so she gets me so drunk and stoned I can't move, and she has sex with me, and I'm too drunk and stoned to have an orgasm. I wake up laughing with a story to tell my brother I got gang raped by a black woman in the ghetto, okay? So, here's the thing. I have been victimized by women. If I was to do those things to women, I would be in prison for doing the things that women have actually done to me, okay? So the person who's the victim is actually me, okay? So God bless you, that's all, folks. This has been too long of a YouTube. I love you. Jesus loves you, okay? Jesus loves Lia. God loves Lia. JFK and Benito Mussolini and archangels and angels bless Lia. I always pray that, she's helped me so much. She's made me suffer, and it was good for me. It brought me to all these wonderful places, and it brought me sobriety. God bless you.